The truth is, Starfield doesn't need some new revolutionary technology. It doesn't need some kind of engine overhaul, some kind of rebudgeting, or to redo the entire game over again. Nothing unreasonable like that. These things aren't the issue. Creation Engine 2 is fine, and a perfectly good game can be made here with already existing tools available to us right this second. The problem is much simpler than the talking heads are making it out to be. If you didn't like the Shattered Space DLC, I don't think that Starfield is for you. Full stop. I don't think that anything the developers do from here on out will ever be good enough for a person like you. You likely have unreasonable expectations, and that's okay. But this game isn't made with you in mind. For any Bethesda fans that liked Shattered Space, well, this should be a new golden standard. And this is the benchmark of which the entire game should be based. The rule and not the exception. The real problem with Starfield is that it feels incomplete. Nothing seems to feel conclusive, and there seems to be a philosophy of leaving too many things open-ended. Sometimes when it's totally inappropriate to do so. Here's a great example. Let's take the Trackers Alliance faction for instance. When first introduced to the faction, the player is exposed to both storyline and lore elements almost immediately. We discover through Codename Inevitable that the Trackers Alliance is an elite group of bounty hunters setting up shop in Aquila City, and specialize in bigger, more notorious, and elusive targets. They focus on the big jobs and explain that the smaller jobs are left to the casual hunters and hobbyists. Okay, fair enough. But here's where we start to run into problems. As of October 14th, 2024, and as far as I'm aware, there's only 2 high-profile bounties available for the Trackers Alliance faction. The first mission, the Starjacker, is an introduction to the group in which you're accompanied by a member of the faction named Roach to track down Hannibal Eutropio. The second, the Vulture, is an optional quest that can be purchased from the Creation Store for 700 creation credits, which runs about $7 USD or 6.43 euro. Now there are some obvious problems here, but let's put those aside for a second and analyze the situation in totality. Let's be extremely generous here and assume that for every 50 normal bounties, there's at least 5 to 10 elite bounties. We can safely assume that there's some elite bounties we wouldn't be aware of just yet. However, there's at least several display board bounties that the player would know about without ever being introduced to the Trackers Alliance. I find it strange that not even one of these known high-profile criminals are shown on the bounty board. Even stranger still is that some of these known bounties should overlap with other law-enforcing factions, giving the player an alternate way of being introduced to at least some existing criminal groups. The Crimson Fleet, for example, makes the most sense here, and if ever possible, high-ranking members of the Ecliptic Mercenaries, like Gustavo Valencia and Commander Creek. The strange thing about all of this is that we already get to see multi-layered, complex, evidence gathering, witness questioning quests and missions in both the introduction to the Trackers Alliance and the Shattered Space DLC. None of these things are revolutionary. They don't require a newer game engine, nor is anything I mentioned so far beyond Bethesda's current skill set to just add. It's just not there for some reason. For some unknown reason, the Trackers Alliance is missing established lore content, and the player is never given any reasonable explanation as to why that is. even after forking over real-life money to the creation store. Now, that's the kind of thing that most reasonable fans would deem unacceptable. You can't establish lore and then not follow through on it. That breaks immersion. The Trackers Alliance missions were the perfect opportunity for players to use their social tree skills, starborn powers, and other unique abilities to interrogate criminals and play detective in a manner implied by codename Inevitable. We can see from the recent updates, prices for certain items and add-ons in the creation store can be reduced, but that's an entirely separate issue. What I'm presenting here is a seemingly lacking practice of follow-through from Bethesda and a growing list of missed opportunities. It's a problem that appears to permeate throughout many parts of the game. Some issues are bigger, some are smaller and more nitpicky, but they're all still problems nonetheless. To be clear, this isn't to say that the game is bad, or that it's beyond saving, because I don't believe that. It's just that the problems are easy to identify and easy to solve. Bethesda just needs to be willing to actually act on them, and it's really just that simple.